Hi everyone, welcome back to Lifting the Lamp. I'm Frater Eleftheria, and I'm continuing my video series explaining and performing the Enochian Calls. We're very close to the end now. This is the second to last call, the 18th call. Here it is. O thou mighty light and burning flame of comfort, which openest the glory of God to the centre of the earth, in whom the secrets of truth, 6,332, have their abiding, which is called in thy kingdom joy, and not to be measured. Be thou a window of comfort unto me. Move and show yourselves, open the mysteries of your creation. Be friendly unto me, for I am the servant of the same your God, the true worshipper of the highest. Yils milkalzo yalpurj blios. Dies odo buzder oiad ovoaz kaiosko. Kaisamij laiad iran brins kaisaisam. Dies jaiumd ai quailo ai dohi mos. Od maiafas bulp komobliot pant. Zaika od zamran. Odo sikal qua ai zorj, lap zirdo noquo mad, hoth jaida. So in call 18, I'm pleased to say we get a bit of a break from the really dire kind of severe kind of symbolism of divine judgment and punishment that we've been given since really the 9th call up until now. There's much more of a positive message in this one. We are again introduced to the flames as an order of angelic being, and we are introduced to the mighty light and burning flame of comfort. We see an emphasis in this call not only on comfort but on joy. And the function of this particular angelic being or order of angelic beings is to open up the glory of God to the center of the earth. There's that term again, the center of the earth, which we were introduced to in my vision of the previous call. So what is this center of the earth? It's not in fact the earth's core, but it is this idea that comes down to us in various forms of spirituality, including in Western spirituality. In ancient Greek kind of spirituality, it was referred to as the omphalos. It was the idea that there was kind of, not to sound like a flat earther or anything, but if you imagine the earth as like a plane, that there is a central point in the middle of that, and that was the center of the earth. And if we think about what this means in a Judeo-Christian context, the center of the earth is actually Jerusalem. So if you look at all of the medieval maps of the world, you sort of have Jerusalem at the center of the Holy Land and the Holy Land at the center of all of the land masses of the world. And this idea is not that far from the truth. If you think about the geographic center of the world, it sort of shifts around as time goes on, but the general area in which that falls is actually somewhere around the landmass incorporating the Great Pyramid of Giza, but also, interestingly, incorporating the land of Israel, and in fact, including Jerusalem. So in a very real sense, we can see Jerusalem as the center of the earth. And in the writings of the prophets, we hear that the law shall go out from Zion, that from the center of the earth, blessing radiates to the rest of the earth. So it's kind of like ground zero for the divine revelation that then brings a new sanctification of the world order as it spreads outward. And that's really an idea that's being echoed in this kind of call as well. And it actually took me many years of studying my own visions and studying religion to really understand that that is what is being referred to by the center of the earth in this call, and also in my previous vision of the 17th call, and visions that I've had that refer to an omphalos, or an axis of the earth being established. So it's all very interesting. But it is very much about, divine revelation descending down to the earth in order to transform the earth and sanctify the earth. And in my own vision that I got when I read the 18th call, I saw the holy mountain. I saw a holy mountain, at least. It wasn't any earthly mountain. It was kind of a ruby-coloured crystal mountain with angelic wings coming out of it. And there was a crowd congregating around it. But the clear kind of parallel was being drawn to Mount Sinai. Again, like Mount Zion is described in the prophets, Mount Sinai is also a mountain where revelation was received, which then radiated out to the rest of the human race and radically shifted the way we organize society. So that seems to be the idea that's being touched upon in this call. And according to the Golden Dawn, this call could be attributed to the earthy part of fire. And that's the 18th call. This is the 19th call, which is the call of the 30 ethers. O you heavens which dwell in Tex, are mighty in the parts of the earth, and execute the judgment of the highest. To you it is said, Behold, the face of your God, the beginning of comfort, whose eyes are the brightness of the heavens, which provided you for the government of the earth and her unspeakable variety, furnishing you with the power of understanding to dispose all things according to the providence of him that sitteth upon the holy throne, and rose up in the beginning, saying, The earth let her be governed by her parts, and let there be division in her, that the glory of her may be always drunken and vexed in itself. Her course let it run with the heavens, and as an handmaid let her serve them. One season let it confound another, and let there be no creature upon or within her the same. All her members let them differ in their qualities, and let there be no one creature equal with another. The reasonable creatures of the earth, or men, let them vex and weed out one another, and the dwelling places let them forget their names. The work of man in his pomp, let them be defaced. His buildings, let them become caves for the beasts of the field. Confound her understanding with darkness. For why? It repenteth me I made man. One while let her be known, and another while a stranger, because she is the bed of an harlot, and the dwelling place of him that is fallen. O ye heavens, arise, the lower heavens beneath you, let them serve you. Govern those that govern, cast down such as fall. Bring forth with those that increase, and destroy the rotten. No place let it remain in one number, add and diminish until the stars be numbered. Arise, move, and appear before the covenant of his mouth, which he hath sworn unto us in his justice. Open the mysteries of your creation, and make us partakers of undefiled knowledge. Matriarchs dies prof, quis Michaels, saina Kaiosko, od fiis balzisras jaida, nonsa goholim mikma, aidoian mad, iod bliob, Saibaioiona kis losiftias, peripsol, dies abraisa nonsef nitaib kaioji, od tilb adfot damplos toat nonsef, Jemi kailzoma,
el ras tofglo mab yari, il dioigo od tozulp, iodaf gohol, Kaiosca taibiod sai aina od Christios jopoil tiabel. Buzdotilb noan paid ospa od dodrumni zilna. Elzaptilb pamji peripsax od tai kost bo oipis el nibem o yucho. Simp od Christios aigiltolton mirk qua tiabel ll. Ton paiomed dilsmo aspian od Christios ageltolton pyrak isimp. Cordsis dodpal od fifals elsmad od faget bams omaioas conispra od ivaivox tonuj. Os catbel noais mi tabjes levithmong. Unki omptilb os baigail moawa ol cordsis el caipimaio ixomaxip od kai kokasp gosaiai baigailen pi tiana ai bailond od fiorcht tilok vovim maidriax tozu o aidriax o roca ai boai pri taibiori priais a taibas ai durpan kostai dobix jolcam priaisi a koiaizo od quasp quatinj riper paiaioxt sai gaiko umel od pudza kaikog ai oiviai komft tozu zaika od zamran asp sipsi butmona dies suza tia baltan od osikal qua ai od ozazma plaipli yad naimad.
Okay, so this is quite a long call compared to the others. I'm not going to go into the same level of detail as I did with the previous calls, but I will note a few things. One thing that is of note is, of course, the return to the symbolism that is heavily skewed towards divine judgment and heavily skewed towards kind of like the unfolding of the end times. And it's sort of prefaced by this idea that God has created the universe by separating its parts, which is of course true of the created universe. But with that separation as well, there is division that has been created and vexation between its parts. And we also see a story being told of a deterioration or a degeneration of that creation over time towards a more fallen state. And this is, of course, the reason why judgment falls upon the earth in the coming of the end times. And really, if you analyze this call further, the root cause or the seed of that degeneration and decay is in the fact that we have a created universe where the parts are divided against themselves, or they're separated out and they're not truly unified. And really that process of division and disarray and chaos and conflict between the parts culminates in the last days, in the end times, in the apocalypse. And I think there's an interesting parallel we can draw here between the sort of communications of the angels to Dee and Kelley during the receiving of the 49 leaves of the Book of Logger and what is sort of set out in each of the calls. Because when the 49th leaf of Logger was given to Dee and Kelley, the angels described the subject matter of that leaf as being, the world thrown into disorder and chaos. And so it was very much the final development of that fallen nature of creation. And it appears at the lowest level in terms of all of the levels of the created universe that are covered by each of the calls and each of the leaves of Logger as well. Because you'll remember, if you've seen my videos on the introduction to Enochian Magic, that the calls and the leaves of Logger were meant to be used together in the Gebethel ritual. And what the calls are designed to do is open up the mysteries that are given in the 49 leaves of Logger, but are impossible to decipher otherwise. Well, or very difficult to do so. So there's a correlation between each call and a leaf of Logger, each call and a leaf of Logger. With the exception, of course, of call 19, which is related to the last 30 leaves of Logger, which relate to the 30 ethers. Before the ethers, and before those last leaves, we see the first leaf is related to the missing call, which I've spoken about in previous videos, and then the second leaf is related to the first call, third leaf to the second call, and so on, for the correspondence of the rest of the leaves of Logger to the rest of the Enochian calls, in terms of the mysteries that each of those calls open up. So, as I've said, the 19th call is different to the previous calls in that it actually doesn't just open up one portion of the heavens, but actually 30 of them, the 30 ethers. So I can't actually give an account of my vision of this call because there's 30 of them, but perhaps I will break down what I saw in each of the ethers in another series of videos down the line. But although I will say that although we think of the ethers as sort of being above the other 18 calls, and that the calls 1 to 18 are to do with the watchtowers, which are to do with kind of the elemental world, it's really the other way around originally. It's really meant to be that the ethers come after calls 1 to 18 and the portions of the heavens that are opened by those, and the missing call, which is the highest. And that these progressively go down from Lil down to Tex, the 30th ether. From Lil, the first ether, down to Tex, the 30th ether, they get closer and closer to the earth. So the 30th ether of Tex is practically, is practically the physical world. It's very close to the physical world in proximity. And it represents that disarray and disorder of the physical universe, which is reflected in the corresponding leaf of Logger and what the angels said about that, and is reflected in the language of the 19th call ultimately, and which also discusses the fate of that world due to its disordered nature. So that's it. That is the 19th call, and that is the end of my series on the 19 calls of Enochian Magic. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a comment down below, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to support my work, and if you want to support me further, hit join or thanks down below. But thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.